find the radian measures of theta on 0 to 2 pi. Measures is important because a lot of times there's more than one. So what it's asking for is the radian measure that the cosine of that is square root 3 over 2. So what that means is you want cosine. So cosine is your x value. So what we're looking for are coordinates where this value is the square root of 3 over 2. So what unit circle would have that look, an x value of square root 3 over 2? Well, if you think about it, well, x has to be positive, so wouldn't it be these two quadrants? Don't those two quadrants have an x value of square root 3 over 2? And if you keep thinking about it, well, square root 3 over 2, wouldn't that be right there and right there? Aren't your x values there have a square root 3 over 2 comma something and a square root 3 over 2 comma something? So we're trying to find those. Does it even matter what the y value is? Not really. We're just looking for spots where the x cosine is square root 3 over 2. Okay, so then we just, what is that angle in radians and what is that angle? And what we'll notice is for this one, that is pi over 6, and for this one, it's 11 pi over 6. So theta is equal to pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6 are my two answers that would create a cosine of these two would be equal to that. So find the measure of theta from 0 to 2 pi of this. So what angle gets the sine of that angle gives us this. Now sine is your y value. So if I'm talking y values, I'm looking for this, and I want my y value to be negative square root 2 over 2. So what would look like that? What gets a terminal point that looks like that? So if we look around, okay, my y values are that. Well, it looks like, no, it won't be on the top, will it? Because if my y values are negative, isn't one of these two quadrants? And if we have a square root 2 over 2, isn't that the 45 degree angle ones? Aren't these two? So what we know is it's going to be down here and here. Those get the square root 2 over 2. And it's y, so with the y value, so we got to, okay, it's these two, because they both are negative square root 2 over 2 and something negative square root 2 over 2. So that's it. So now we just got to find out what are those angles in radians, because again, those are your y values, a negative square root 2 over 2. So what angle are these? All right, so theta is your angle measure. That is equal to, so for this one, that looks like it's going to be over 4, and it would be 5 pi over 4. And the other one, for this one, right here, would be over 4 again, and it would be 7 pi over 4. Would be my two angles right here and right here for those two. So, next one, we want a radian measure from 0 to 2 pi where tangent is 0. Now, tangent, we have to remember, is your y over x. So to get a 0, wouldn't that mean I need to be a 0 over 1 or a 0 over negative 1? Those are the only ways you can 0. If you get a 0 in the denominator, that's undefined. So I want something that would create that. So the coordinates I'm looking for would be a negative 1, 0 or a 1, 0. Aren't those the two I'm looking for? So we got to find those. Those two would create a tangent of 0. All right, so let's look. Where would this one be? Isn't it right there? And this one, isn't it right there? So what we have here is we have that dot and that dot. Okay, so this dot is what radians? Well, isn't it 0 radians? And isn't it also 2 pi? Could it be either? And this dot over here is pi. Oops, pi. So, these are the spots where tangent is 0. Are all three of these in the interval? Yeah. Oh, so I have 3 answers here. Theta can be 0, pi, or 2 pi. All 3 in this interval create a tangent of 0. So if I want to find the radian measure from 0 to 2 pi, that tangent of theta is undefined. So undefined means, again, first of all, tangent is y over x. And if I want undefined, I want either 1 over 0 or negative 1 over 0. Those are the only options with your unit circle where you get an undefined. So I want to think, where would those be? Well, to get that, my 2 coordinates for this would be, for this one, isn't at that 0, 1? So wouldn't 0, 1 be an option? And my other one, for this one, would be 0, negative 1. Let's double check that. Would that be y over x? Y over x would give me this, and y over x would give me that. So those are the 2 coordinates we're looking for that would create an undefined for tangent. So let's now find those coordinates. They would be right here and right here, which the one on top here is pi over 2. The one on bottom here is 3 pi over 2. So my answer is theta would be at pi over 2 to be undefined, and 3 pi over 2 would be our radians on this interval that would be undefined.